All right, we're live. We're live with 4 filmmakers here. We're gonna address any questions that come in that are addressed to the group. We're gonna go clockwise. So it's gonna start with Maggie, and then go to Noah, then go to Ryan, then go to Federico. Okay. So introduce yourselves, please, and the film you made.
Yeah. So my name is Maggie Briggs. I'm the co-director and writer of Too Sunny with Fede.
This is Federico, and I'm the co-director of Too Sunny.
Okay, this whole clockwise thing broke down real fast. so.
Oh, sorry.
The co-director.
It's okay. No, Noah.
I'm Noah Brown. I directed The Wireman.
I'm Ryan Turk. I directed There's Nothing You Can Tell.
Awesome. Okay, and just to avoid any audio interference, we're just gonna ask everyone to mute themselves when they're not talking, and then just unmute yourselves. I don't want to be in charge of muting and unmuting you. If you've watched any of our Q&As right now, I'm really bad at it. I often start speaking when I'm on mute, and then people have to remind me. It's a tradition across all these Q&As. Okay, so opening spiel. Loved all your films so very much. Federico and Maggie, I actually told Adam Rainier about your film, and he's super interested. Dinner in America director, and it's so interesting, this film that you've made. Ryan, I think I've shared my thoughts about your film. We don't need to talk about you right now. I'm just kidding. No, I absolutely loved it. I was actually speaking about your film on the programming tips panel, and because they were talking about don't do too much for your film, don't take on too many hats, and I had an opening reaction when I was about to watch your film of like, this is going to be the worst 27 minutes of my life, or 28, 29 minutes, wherever the hell you were at right there. And I was like, why do people, where do people get the balls to think that they can, write, direct, produce, star in, edit? Like, give me a break, man. But I think I was close to a minute in, and I immediately paused and I messaged our programmers, and I was like, you need to check this film out. There's something very special about it. And then I realized that I started hyping it up before I even finished the film. And then I was like, oh my God, what if it gets really, really bad and I'm wrong? But it turned out that it actually got even better. So it was really amazing. And Noah, it's so weird to discover somebody so talented in Toronto that I hadn't heard of before this film festival. And that's kind of what happens when you're young and emerging, is that you just haven't, put enough out there. And this was your thesis film. It's staggeringly good. I think everyone who saw it would probably agree that it was just really amazing and so heartfelt. And I'm really proud to have you guys in this block. So I want to open it up with some questions, and questions can only be good as the films are. And frankly, these films are amazing. So I think we have some pretty good questions for you guys. So with Too Sunny, we're gonna break the clock. We're gonna break the clock. Clockwise thing, because you guys did co-direct it, and we'll just ask you a question, and you can both just unmute yourselves and kind of have a discussion about it. Yeah. So with the current political climate, we want to avoid saying that Too Sunny is technically political. It's not really. It's humanistic. But the radio is political, right? The radio that plays throughout. So where did the idea to let the radio do so much of the storytelling come from?
So the radio is something that was kind of always a part of the script, actually, from the very first draft, because Too Sunny is based on my own father, who's a truck driver and a vending machine loader. And, so much of his time between stops is spent with this radio. It's solitude, but it's spent with the radio. And so it kind of became, it was like a natural partner of his on the road, I think. And so, so it's kind of started as like a more general conservative talk radio that we wanted to have in there. But then the more we edited, the deeper we kind of got into it, and the time that we just couldn't ignore it being 2019, I guess, when we were editing. Mm-hmm. It just evolved into very specifically about the 2016 elections, and kind of the way that the media had almost like a subconscious effect on people in the South, because it's it talks a lot about how media is an ever-present piece of our lives, right? And so whether for the good and the bad. So we always kind of wanted it to be a part of the ambiance that actually moved the script or moved the character.
Right.
Yeah.
Federico, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's kind of the political take that it's provided by the radio. I think it's like we were interested in looking at the microcosm of a character and how the macrocosm sort of filters through his individual daily experience. So yeah, this is a guy who spends most of the day driving alone, so he's very much exposed to radio. And the time frame is that of the 2016 elections. So it's all about, like, we started from the daily life of this character, and then try to see how the bigger picture filters through, this radio and get to him. So yeah, I would say that we started from like the character study to sort of expand on a larger picture. Yeah. So we were interested in seeing like politics, like in how they come to like very, very simple fruition, like. And this character is political in his own being as part of a system, as part of a machinery somehow. And so I think we were more interested in his microcosm, in his very intimate experience rather than the bigger picture. But then the interesting thing was that, the more we follow the character, the more his individual experience become political, because it's so much exposed to that, that in the end we wonder where he stands, how much this outer world will affect him, or whether he will take part with or not. But yeah, I think we started from the character study.
And I think that comes through. It's a really interesting film. I have so many questions about this film, but I you can't keep digging into one question. So we're going to go over to Noah. Noah, I've seen, as festival directors, we see a lot of thesis films, like probably like 250 a year, right? We've selected a few this year, actually. It's very rare that a thesis film is this good, this polished, this clear about what it's trying to say. Felt Burton-esque. Is that high praise? I don't know. So what sparked your passion for animation? And if you say Tim Burton, I win $50.
Yeah, Tim Burton was really like the first director who I could identify a style with, and who I like knew and appreciated as, a filmmaker. That was like kind of the beginning. So in terms of like inspirations, I could go on forever. Like, Tim Burton's one of them. Nightmare Before Christmas, when I watched it when I was younger, just totally blew my mind, and I'm sure you can probably see the influences in the movie.
Yeah.
And then, but from a production standpoint, I think I got into animation because you can kind of explore big ideas in small spaces. And what I mean by that is, like, in this movie in particular, I was able to create a kind of endless, when you're in the dark pit in the second half, this kind of endless place. And I was physically in a dark basement, like that was it. And so, I like animation because you have control over everything, which makes it kind of difficult, but it's also, it gives you the opportunity to explore a lot of different things in terms of, for me, it was sound design and trying to craft that environment using all the tools that I had at my disposal. And so, yeah, I love animation. I don't think I'm gonna like box myself into doing animation in the future, but I love it. You know, it's such an expressive medium.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fascinating that you wouldn't box yourself into that, and I think genre, the topic of genre, and how limiting and boxy it is, has been like a pretty like prevalent theme throughout our panels, and you know, because we have a lot of films that, I mean, there were a few in this block. For instance, the man who crossed the sea, or the one who crossed the sea. That was totally genre blending. So I think that animation, live action, at the end of the day, like these are just ways for people to market something, and I think ultimately comes down to the story. Ryan, it's rare to see a 22-year-old draw on the inspirations that you're drawing, or make a 26-minute short with such limited resources that's this good. What are your earliest memories of film, and where does this passion come from?
My earliest memory of film is actually crying at a matinee screening of Peter Pan with my grandmother when I was 3. That's my earliest memory. I don't know. I've always kind of had an instinctive love for film almost. Even when I was a kid, my parents would make a lot of home videos with, Handycam, and I remember trying to grab it from my mom a lot. And I loved filming stuff even at 2, 3. And she even just mentioned the other day how much I love zooming in and out, which I find kind of funny because today I love, zoom lenses. But yeah, that's my earliest memory. And funny enough, Tim Burton was a huge influence on me when I was a kid. And I remember watching Edward Scissorhands when I was maybe 5, 6 years old, if I'm not mistaken. It was playing like a car that I was in. I was like in carpool for school or something. And I remember feeling these very deep emotions that I never really felt before. And I was kind of scared, honestly, as a kid, because it was weird to feel a strong visceral emotion because of things on a screen at that age. But yeah, that was a big influence. And then also just watching Boogie Nights when I was like 13. That definitely lit a spark in me that never has flamed out. And I don't think it ever will. So yeah, that also has been a huge influence on me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I see some of those in your work. I thought immediately, I think like 2, 3 minutes in, I was seeing a lot of French New Wave cinema. I was seeing, Safdie brothers. There's a lot of that, and generally speaking, I'm pretty pissed off when I see that in filmmakers, because it usually feels derivative, and I'm scared about where that's going to go, because sometimes imitation, and it's close, but it didn't feel like that with your film. It felt like the influences were clear, but it felt wholly original. Like there's nothing about this film felt like, oh, I've seen this film 10 times before. I hadn't seen this film before, and that's saying something, since we watch about 900 to 1,500 films a year. So it was unique, and I think it was really special. And for anyone watching who doesn't know, it was actually his world premiere, which is really cool. It's really cool. And again, you're Canadian. That's pretty cool for us too, because for anyone who hasn't been following us for the last 3 years, we're not so big on the whole like homeschool discount, like hometown discounts. Like we don't go out of our way to select Canadian projects because they're Canadian projects, like, ever. So we were just really happy that a lot of really good Canadian projects finally submitted. That was cool. Federico and Maggie, we're up to your turn again. But before we ask our second question, I do want to show a little trailer, just in case there are people watching who maybe didn't have a chance to see these films, just to have a little bit of an idea of what this block was really like. So just gonna throw out the trailer here. All right. Yeah, I mean, this blog felt so special to me. I can't stop harping on that. So my next question for Two Sunny duo there, and I actually do have I have a third question for you, which has emerged from my mind, and even though I only gave you two as a scripted question, but my second question to you is: we're almost always inside one political scandal or another these days. How important is it to see people who don't support our views as human beings first? And why not just call them deplorable? Shout out to somebody that I'm not going to name right now who used that word, and just avoid them.
Well, I mean, you know, it's almost like a loaded question, because of course the right answer is like, you can't avoid the other side, especially it's like America is what it is, and this is what we pretend that this is what we're founded on, like these two types of people, you know, or they, whatever. We could get deep, but it's like it's really important, I think, to understand another side, because how can you really fully understand your own side if you don't understand the other side? And I think, like, a big thing that I've always said is that one of the reasons I made Sunny was because I was living in New York after living my whole life in North Carolina, and New York is such a different experience. And I was with international people all the time, and people were after 2016 election, the 2016 election, it was like it was shocking for a lot of people in a way. It was shocking for me too, just to say, like, what happened was shocking. But it wasn't, but I know a different side of America than my friends knew in New York. So they were wondering, like, but who are the people who's the greater half of the country who's voting for Trump? And I said, well, some of the closest people to me are that side of America. And so it's not just the people on the news, it's not the people storming the Capitol only, you know, there's a huge population that is quiet in they're quiet in their beliefs, but they're just as strong, I guess. And so I think it's really important to kind of to show that. I'm sure Betty has more.
Yeah, I mean, my point of view is pretty particular because I'm Italian. So I was studying in the US. That's where we started collaborating with Maggie. And so, like, I was very foreign to the character and to the environment of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I approached it as a kind of as a documentary. So trying, like, my gaze was already external somehow, and we tried to make that external gaze like a way of approaching the character.
Mm-hmm.
And so also the style of the movie, I think, comes from that. Like, we kept a quite observational gaze, a little bit pulled back in the way we framed the shots. And so for me, there wasn't much thinking. Like, it's not that hot for me. It wasn't, of course, I all the whole world follows what happens in the US, but like, for me, I try to definitely not to judge the character, and approach the character also beyond the political themes brought up by the movie. So it became, like, for me, a whole experience. First of all, to get to know the South, just, in pre-production, and then get to know, like, the people from the South, and then specifically the character of Sunny. And so yeah, it was like very, very much a documentary kind of approach on point of view. And but I think every filmmaker shouldn't judge their characters. Like, if you judge your character, you are, I don't know, your gaze becomes a little spoiled by your preconception on that character, and you won't allow him or her to just show you, the scale of gray of human being. So
that starts in the writing and it goes into the directing and even into acting. I remember, like, it's something that we were very purposeful about making this film as apolitical as possible, because I knew that a huge variety of people were going to see it, and I didn't want people to feel judged. I wanted more them to feel seen, I think, by it. But it's exactly what Fede is saying. It's like, if you don't love your character, this is something that we reminded Alfie of, our lead character who's playing Sunny. Just like, you have to love, even if you don't understand, you have to love your character. Like, that's why we have movies about the Joker, because we can love the Joker.
Definitely. Yeah, that's cinema in a way. It's a means of understanding, not the world around you and yourself, to empathize, and to sort of break those boundaries that divide, that categorize people in just like categories. So yeah, it was a great experience also in these regards. Just, like, also I remember on set, since I'm not a native speaker, like I had hard time communicating with some of the actors or the extras, but also like in preparation, just like I was so foreign to the environment, that for me was really a learning experience of, like, I traveled a lot in my life, but and I come from the Western world, Europe, but still I felt like so many things that I didn't know, in North Carolina. So it was like a whole cultural experience, done, at least I tried to do it with as least of preconceptions, just open to it. And so again, like with that character, it became like an observation, like a sort of anthropological observation, but more than that, like more specifically than that, a cinematic exploration. So for me, for example, the political aspect of what's like Trump in that situation is that to follow a character who has a very monotonous, I think, life, very like, he's very much alone in his car. And so to feel how the energies comes in that silent, solid, lonely environment, were already a political statement, because Trump voice, which is very much exuberant and very much like, I don't know, like with that kind of energy, when it comes in that silent space of the track, already creates a shock. It creates something that is saying, like, it's making a statement of sorts about how this energy, this political energy, filtered inside a certain man, in this case, life. Yeah. I hope I answered. Wait, I think you are muted.
That was it. I told you I was going to do that, and I did it. So there you go. I said that isolation is sometimes misunderstood. Actually, what I appreciate about muting myself is I get a second take to say what I was originally going to say. So it's much better than the first time around. I think isolation has become a really big theme across the last year, right? In a really strange way, every one of these films is exploring loneliness. If you can see that in your own work, I can see it in your work. So I think you don't have to make a film about somebody self-isolating in an apartment to, discuss loneliness. And I think people slowly die when they're isolated. Like, it's a slow death, but it does happen. So I think connecting with others is a meaningful thing. And the other thing I would say about Too Sunny is I think that it's really important for festivals to pick this film and to put it smack dab in the middle of a block so that people can't avoid it. Largely because I think we live in an echo chamber where we're not exposed to different views. Maggie, you talked about moving to New York, from New York. I get that. Everyone talking about issues that they have no idea because they've never gone down to North Carolina, they've never gone down to Georgia, they've never really seen what people are living through. I don't think you can judge people when they're cornered. It's a personal belief of mine that you cannot judge someone when they're cornered. If you ask someone how much money do you make and they lie to you, that's not their fault. That's your fault for asking the question. You cannot corner someone and expect the best response from them. And I think that we should understand people who feel cornered. And that's not just, and I think that's a message that can unite left and right, by the way, because the left is always talking about people who are cornered, right? Where I was like, oh, well, it was drug addiction. It was this, it was systemic racism. It was, okay, fine. We're not judging that person because we understand that hardships push that person to feel a certain way or to experience a certain reality. Well, okay, now you have someone who's lost their job, lost their mortgage, lost their house, and they're being told that somebody is going to come and solve those problems. So are you judging that person? I think it's important to have this discussion. It's not a political discussion, it's a human discussion which can allow people to actually connect. We have some questions coming up here, but I do want to get through the questions for Noah and Ryan. Noah, my next question for you, I gotta switch over to private chat here. What does the hole represent in your film, if you don't mind my asking?
In terms of like metaphorical representation,
Sure.
I'll probably leave that up to everyone else to determine. Sorry to disappoint, but I will say that in making an animated movie, you have to work really hard to create expression and emotion, particularly within the characters. So like their little tiny movements that the wireman has with his hands, and part of that emotion is crafting the environment around them. And so in crafting the environment, I wanted to try to kind of create, drive emotional engagement and drive the emotional core of the movie. And the whole is very much a part of the environment. And so the story is a hopeful story set in a kind of oppressive world. And in that way, I think the whole is representative of this kind of just pure terror, bleakness, and the oppressiveness of the environment that they're in.
Okay. Ryan, how much of Ryan is Ronnie, and how much of Ronnie is Ryan? He's a very lovable character, and I do empathize with him. But I'm curious how much of this is personal.
Well, you know how it goes. I think that when you're writing characters, you can't help but put a little bit of yourself in all of them, obviously subconsciously, because they're coming from you. So I think I'm in all the characters in some way, especially Ronnie, of course. I definitely see how Ronnie is more focused on how other people feel about him than how he might feel about himself and how he might treat himself. And I definitely see a lot of that in me. And I think that existed in the script before I decided that I would play the part. And yeah, I decided to embrace that. At first, it was a bit nerve-wracking because you don't want to, as a human being, you're kind of afraid to be that vulnerable and exposed on camera. You kind of feel a little bit naked. But, I had a pretty good crew, and I just felt that it was best for the story. And like you said, when you have a big 20-minute short with all these plots and setups, you want to make sure that there's a lot of honesty and truth in the characters. So I definitely saw a lot of that in Ronnie and myself.
I will share something with you. Programmers do Google you, They do. And especially when a film kind of feels like it just came out of left field, and you're feeling like, did they just plagiarize someone else's film and submit it? Like you got to check, right? You don't want to be dealing with lawyers during a festival. And so we one of our team members Googled you and found a parkour video. Do you remember this? The internet has a the internet has a memory, man, and like, I mean, you posted it. So what the first thing was, like, how young is this kid? That was crazy, by the way. But
Maybe that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, so you were 15 years old. But the irony of that is that there was some overlap. It's always curious, right? When someone's 21, 22, you don't have a large body of work to draw back on and say, I wonder where this stylistic impression, this focus on this came from. But you could see that 15-year-old might go on to make something really impressive at 22. I know that it was just a little Facebook video that he made, but
my friends and I, after school, just literally doing ridiculous parkour. We have no parkour training whatsoever. And we probably spent like a couple hours jumping on mailboxes and like jumping off ledges and stuff in like super slow-mo.
Yeah.
Video.
It was funny, and if it makes you feel any better, it was better than at least 200 submissions that we got this year. So, just saying. All right, we got some questions here. Okay, so let's start at the very, very top. Okay, great job. Do you guys have any thoughts on what the fuck happened in Organisms? Okay. Also, follow up, Brian, you're a rock star. That was amazing. Does Ronnie ever find a happy ending? Does anyone want to answer the first question? What you think happened in Organisms? Just unmute yourself and talk. Or does literally no one know?
Myself right now.
Nobody knows. That's interesting. We're gonna have to give Nicola that feedback on his world premiere that nobody can figure out what the hell happened. I guess, you know what? This question has got to be answered by me then, I guess, because I don't know. Then we're in big trouble. Yeah. So, in terms of what happened in Organisms, I'm assuming that you're talking about the ending. You can email us and we will tell you, because I don't know how much Nicola wants to give away about his film, but in a general sense, what Organisms was about was actually loneliness, isolation, feeling disconnected from the society that you're living in, and how the plant, which I'm assuming, he leaves, and the plant represents sort of like a dying structure. And so, ironically, what we're talking about right now is so relevant to that film, and the film is really about how things die when they don't, when they're alone. So, moving on to the next question. Ryan being a rock star, does Ronnie ever find a happy ending?
I feel like he does, not right away. I feel like it would definitely take some time when you're in that mindset of I come first, but I treat everybody like they come last. But I feel like a guy like that over time, I feel like he's aware enough of himself that at some point he'd wake up. I feel like it might take another few finger cuttings for him to realize that, but I definitely feel that at some point he would grow as a person and win finally.
Very cool. Good question for Noah. Amazing films. I would like to know how the sound effects of Wireman were created, what was used, how creative did you get, same with the materials used.
I really like this question because it lets me talk about sound. So in terms of the sound effects, I looked like a lunatic because I was in a tiny sound booth after I finished shooting the movie. And I had balls of tinfoil in my hand, and I was holding them really close to a mic and just squishing them a lot. So that was like the footsteps of the Wireman. I also had, how on like cartons of plastic wrap, they're the jagged edges. Mm-hmm. So for him scratching his face, and for any kind of, I think it was just scratching his face, or I think it was a few others also. I would take a piece of wire and just drag it across that. And then for his general movement, it was actually wire just crinkling again close to the mic. And for the part underneath, you know, near the end where everything's dark and the little snowman's going up the wires, and there's the giant kind of sound coming from nowhere. That was me running my finger down the E string on a guitar and then slowing it down a lot, and then just kind of adding a reverb, and just playing. I had a lot of fun playing with the sound on this, honestly, as you can probably tell. So I used a lot of different materials to make the movie ultimately, and it was just kind of trying to get creative with what I had.
I mean, the sound design was the selling point. It's what drew you into it, and I think so many filmmakers out there. You know, yesterday we did a programming panel. I don't know how many of you had a chance to check it out with Leslie and Robin Citizen and Alex and stuff, and they were talking about sound, and I sort of interjected and I said, yeah, I don't think most people who even get decent sound understand the potential of sound design. It's not really just about getting your EQ right and making the dialogue sound like it wasn't recorded, you know, underwater. It's really about using sound to tell the story in a way that just really immerses the audience. And I guess I have a follow-up to this question, although I feel it's selfish asking questions given that we're going to run out of time and there's so many questions here. Okay, there's a comment here. Okay, I will get back to my question about sound though. I have to call my aunt. Okay, I guess that was the point of the film. So my question about sound, and you can limit this to 1 or 2 sentences if you want, but how disappointing has it been for all of you who've clearly put a lot of emphasis into your sound to have to know that some people out there, not going to name names, are probably watching your films on a phone or a tablet? that booming 5.1 sound coming off an iPhone?
I guess what can you do? You know, you hope that people watch it with headphones and in a right environment, but
well,
no control over it.
But ultimately, like we are not allowed to upload a 5.1 mix onto Eventive. Everything is mixed down to stereo, unfortunately. So that's sort of the disadvantage of running it this way, right? Like 5.1 does get mixed down, and I think Adam was talking about this on Friday. Like, man, like what an expense, right? Like setting that up correctly, like to people who actually are watching that really understand filmmaking, like to get sound design right, it's months worth of work. And yeah, so every time somebody, just so you guys know, every single time somebody called for tech support and said, how can I do it on my tablet? I said, you cannot actually watch this on your tablet. And they said, but why not? And I was just like, because you can't, even though they can. They technically can. But I lied to them and told them that they couldn't so that they wouldn't. So we have that. Okay, that's more of a question to the end. Okay, this is a beautiful question. I love this. Okay, everyone, who is your wire person? Someone who builds you up and puts you back together and pats you on the head when you're down. I love that question. Thank you, David. Everyone's just lost some thought. All right.
I would say John Cassavetes.
Really? Okay. It's a good answer.
I was gonna say my parents, because you know I would say my dad kind of introduced me to movie making, and then my mom helped me make the movies. So like the first iteration of this movie I made when I was 16. It was like, so this project was like 5 years in the making. And it was like with my mom in my basement and her just like, you know, helping me out, building stuff, taking me to the store if I needed it. So it's very much in the movie, I think.
Mine's probably just my family in general. Like, even if, like, you can see in Sunny, like my brother was a co-producer who knew nothing about movie making, but just hustled his ass off and made the movie happen with me. and then my all my family they're extras in the movie. My dad said if it doesn't work out with the actor, like I'll take on the role of Sonny, like playing him basically himself on screen. And you know, they go, even if they don't understand what I'm doing, they kind of go above and beyond to help me make it happen.
You know, for such an apolitical filmmaker, that was a pretty political response.
But
just like I'm not gonna leave anybody out of this, just in case somebody messages me after and says I thought I was your wire person. And also, this wire person thing might actually take off as a common expression, which is, I think it's pretty cool actually.
Yes.
Okay, let's see here. Question for Ryan. Your film is very impressive sense of relentless, unavoidable movement to it. Were there any tactics you used to achieve such impressive pacing? High praise.
Hey, Evan Luxembourg. Thanks. And yeah, I mean, I definitely underestimated the editing period. I kind of thought I would write this, I'd shoot this and edit it within like a month or two, this being my first film. And yeah, I ended up editing the movie, and it felt very slow, actually. It was very slow paced. It felt like there was a lot of fat that I had to trim off. And it was basically just editing for like 3-4 months. I had 3 different cuts of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And when times got tough, it really just, and I would spend sometimes, I think I was even texting you when I was still editing, 24 hours straight, just editing, no sleep. And I think just at some point staying away from the computer and not even looking at the movie or thinking about it for a week, really just in perspective, because it's obviously a very plot-heavy short, but I'm more drawn to character-driven narratives. So I wanted to try and balance the character with the story. And it just really took a lot of trial and error and letting everything sift in my mind, I think, before re-editing the movie eventually. But thank you.
We have another question for Ryan. How personally drawn was your movie? I think we sort of answered that, but feel free to add.
Again, I think I'm very inspired by those like 70s New York movies, which are mostly plot-driven, but there's very strong characters throughout them. And again, I think especially when you're making such a clustered film, just plot-wise, I think you need to draw personally from it, or like Rob said, it's going to be like student film trash. I think it's very easy to show your film knowledge making a movie, just plugging all your inspirations in there, wearing your influences on your sleeve. But I think what really beats out the good filmmakers from the decent ones is their ability to be personal in their movies, while sometimes not being too literate, I guess. Like you said before about Too Sunny, not taking place in the confines of a small apartment, but actually having this short about loneliness take place all along the road. Yeah, I hope that answers the question, but it was pretty personally drawn to myself.
This is a pretty conclusion-y question, but we'll answer it now anyway. Here, what are you all working on next? More shorts or features, perhaps?
Kind of all of the above, all the time. Whatever comes first. I'm working on as a co-writer a second feature for a director named Samir Oliveros, while also working on my own Southern first feature, and then shorts if they can be funded. If we find funding, but all of the above, yeah.
No?
I'm working on a feature as well as always got to have a few balls in the air. So, writing features, trying to make some other stuff, trying to do what you can,
Ryan?
I ask myself that question every single second of the day. I'd like to take a stab at a feature, but I might want to do another short, just to, again, really work on getting character on the screen a lot better. But we'll see. I don't know. I'm kind of writing different things every day. Probably another short, though.
Yes, similar situation to the other guys. I've been working on my feature, trying to get it going, but yeah, now it's sort of an interesting period of time also creatively to understand what can be done and what cannot. So I'm trying to orient myself in the new landscape, also of storytelling, not just of production. So yeah, I'm writing my feature, let's say.
Yeah, it's always really interesting to see the progression between film to film, and I think shorts are a great way to explore like ideas, concepts, try things. Not that they're throwaways or anything. I just think that it's a very creative medium. Okay, let's see. We have any questions here? Okay, here. Ryan and Noah, do you find it difficult to be taken seriously being so young? Either or.
I mean, it's actually a problem I used to have a lot. I actually dropped out of college. So when I dropped out, that was definitely a big problem that I had. I always felt that people looked at me as a little brother, the little kid. I had big braces too at the time. But last year I had a pretty great industry job working in VFX, and I had to lead a whole team of people, and they were all way older than me. So at first I actually debated taking the position, just because I didn't feel that people would take me seriously being their boss, being this like baby faced 21-year-old. But I just kind of worked through it. And so luckily because of that job, I don't have that problem anymore. And also a lot of our crew is very young too. In terms of just audience and stuff, I don't really think about it too much. And if people don't take me seriously because I'm a kid, then I mean, so be it. Not much I can do about that. But I hope that people would take me seriously. And yeah.
Yeah, it can. I think, especially making live action movies when you actually have like other people, it can definitely be a little intimidating. Like you feel like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. But then you remember that like with everything, 90% of the time nobody knows what they're doing. They just kind of have to figure it out. And so for me, it's just like going in with confidence and starting. And for making this one in particular, I had to go and like walk down and just start the movie. I didn't know how. I had never made this movie before. I'd made movies before. But I didn't really know how to start this movie. But I just kind of had to start. And I had to say, I know I have an idea of where I'm going. I'll figure it out along the way. And that's all you can do.
So I guess you're saying there's nothing you can do.
I think that the biggest pressure in the film industry is the pressure that you put on yourself. No matter how old you are, like anything about you, it's all about how you perceive yourself and your confidence. A lot of people aren't really asking how old you are, in my experience, but
I think they're feeling how old you are, right? Like that does come about, and there's I think a lot of really insecure people in the film industry.
yes.
I used to say that this is the bottom, like total newbie beginner. This is the top, you're Scorsese. Everyone in the middle of that is like a nightmare to work with. Everybody, to some degree or another. Like there's a lot of posturing, and there's a lot of pretension, and there's like who the fuck are you to tell me this and that and whatever. So I think if you can just avoid that for yourself, to the person who asked the question about being young and having taken seriously, I think if you take yourself seriously, like people will fall in line. That's just kind of like my personal opinion there. Okay, I guess I'll close it with the sort of a question to you guys of what do you think that film festivals can do for you, to make, provided that we do go a few more months into this thing, or if we have another year of this, God knows, like we don't know. Nobody has a crystal ball, but what can film festivals do to make this experience more meaningful for you? I'm just assuming that a lot of them are going to watch this, so like you might just spark an idea in somebody.
Honestly, this was like so well organized. So if any film festivals watching, just do what Pendance did. Like, this is like, I was really kind of surprised how well organized it was, given it was the first year of doing online. And I think the communication with us has been excellent. And I think the way the page is organized in terms of how you can buy, the tickets for the different blocks and kind of showing what the different blocks are, I think that was fantastic. And I honestly, I can't think of anything that should be done differently. Like, this was really, really well organized.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't agree with you, but I definitely.
I know, because you always only see the flaws of your own thing, and like when I'm watching like Wireman, I only see like all the things I could have done differently. But like this seriously, it's like really well done.
Yeah, and I felt the love too. Sorry, just like from this film festival, I really felt your passion for cinema and for programming good cinema. And I think that also gave me confidence in being selected to your festival. And it made me more excited too. It did rub up on me. And everything Noah said too, I echo that.
Anyone else? I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, me and Maggie share the same feeling right from the very first communication. We felt your passion, and the organization was also like keeping that sort of energy.
Mhm.
And like as a filmmaker, you can feel it right away how a festival is treating you, and not just you, but like how it's approaching the whole thing. And with you guys, we felt right away very, very nice vibe. So yeah, I agree with the guys.
I once read that like when you're applying to film festivals, you're not just applying to apply and get in where you can. You like also are creating a relationship with like a group of cinemaphiles somewhere. And so I think that, like, I don't know if for anybody who doesn't know, if you get accepted to Pendance, you have a personal note about your film in the acceptance letter, and it's just like a touch that you don't normally get, and it's so beautiful. But I think like in general, like I think because the virtual world is so, we kind of take it for granted, I guess. And it's here and there, and the movies, it's playing in Canada now, and then it's playing in Greece, and then it's like, wherever it is, and you just kind of put it out there into the world. I think maybe making it for film festivals, making it more maybe specific, if there were like opportunities that were a little bit more specific or more personalized to the filmmakers, might be maybe like industry meetings, very specific, rather than the general panels. I think that could be something that could help get people involved and kind of make it an event more than just kind of, here's my movie online in a different location.
No, I completely agree with you, and I'm part of a filmmaker forum, like where there's a lot of really, really great filmmakers in that group. It's about 600 emerging filmmakers, and we all talk about, okay, what did this festival do now, right? And I'm hearing all the stories, right? Okay, like my film was stretched. It was shot anamorphic, and it was shot in this ratio, and then because it was part of a block, it got stretched, and it broadcast out to like 200 people, and I can't complain about it now because it was live. The sound was watched, this happened, that happened, my film was live. So obviously hearing that all year, we were like, okay, we're going to try to do something different, and we're still sort of figuring out ideas as we go. And one of the ideas, and it's because we're asking, actually, that's really where the ideas are coming from, because we are just a group of, we're a small group of people, and we have, our ideas, but clearly, we selected 54, well, close to 59 filmmakers to this festival, and I'm sure they all have their ideas. So one of the ideas that emerged out of the Midnight Block, Rona said it, she said, how about having like meeting rooms for filmmakers like this, right, that aren't taped, right? And it was interesting because just earlier that day, I had a conversation with a filmmaker once we stopped recording, which was just super interesting. people change when they know they're being recorded. I don't personally. I say, God knows what. I'm gonna have to edit the shit out of like so many things that I've said and repost these, but a lot of people do, right? So would you guys be interested in like having a virtual meet, like without us? Like I would not be involved, none of us would be involved, and filmmakers can just talk. We were thinking about this, how to do this, and we were thinking, you know, maybe there's a filmmaker who might want to come in, you know, like Alex, for instance, Alex Piberino, right? And I think he might be curious or interested in doing maybe like a little private workshop for, you know, like nine or 10 filmmakers. So we're gonna work on that. So I know this is technically the end of Pendance tonight, but we're gonna do a few things over the next 2 to 3 weeks to hopefully drag this experience out a little bit and continue to provide a little bit of value back for filmmakers. But if something like that does become available, you guys interested?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Okay, so that's a great idea. Okay, cool. That's it for us. It's been really fun to get to connect with you guys and to meet you. Do you guys have any final thoughts, any final words you want to say?
Thank you, Pendance.
Uh,
It's been so nice.
Thank you,
No.
guys.
Thank you guys so much. Honestly, thank you for bringing your film to Pendance. Thank you for showing so much love. Thank you for sharing all our stuff on social media. It really helps. Oh my goodness. Oh no. Oh no. Anthony.
Oh no. That is a plot twist.
Does everyone have 10 more minutes to meet Anthony? Where are you at, man? Oh, he left. Speaking of things that need to be edited out, okay, it's very possible that I will have a one-on-one interview with Anthony right after this, but yeah, okay, thank you everyone, and this ends on a very funny note. Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Okay, end broadcast. I honestly don't want to end the broadcast just in case he comes back. I feel really terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also, shit. I should probably say this to you in private, but do you realize when you Google you get a different person?
Yeah, I'm a series of people. I'm a football player.
No, there's a filmmaker with your exact name.
Filmmaker?
Yeah, like I don't know if you noticed this, but we released a collage of 17 filmmakers, 17 Canadian filmmakers. Do you notice your face not on it?
Yeah, I'm not there.
Yeah, because you are there, but the wrong you is there. Because that's the picture that we had. So let this be a cautionary note to you to fill out your Film Freeway bio.
Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, it didn't. Oh, that's why.
If you legitimately go and Google yourself right now and say like Noah J. Brown filmmaker, you're gonna find somebody else, and it looks like it definitely could be, you know, a filmmaker. And you know what I mean?
Oh, I can't find anything. Wow, weird.
You don't see it? Okay, I'll send you the Google link. Anyways, yeah. So our apologies, and we'll fix all of that.
No, no worries.
Yeah, we didn't fix.
Thank you.
Oh, and now Anthony's back. Oh my goodness, Anthony.
Wow, look, guys. So our times changed here, and so it's actually now. And you know, I thought it was now, so I'm a bit late, I guess.
You're an hour late. Oh my gosh! But I'm so happy you got to come on, because I mean I'm sad that the others didn't get to meet you, but we just concluded. But we'll talk to you, man. We're really happy to talk to you. And I'm so happy that you got to come on.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Can you give me a second to just prepare for you here, because I do have 2 questions for you. Okay. I love your movie, by the way.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
I literally I had my hood over my face while your film was happening. I was like, I can't watch this. Okay, so we are introducing Anthony. who's unfortunately an hour late because of a time difference. This has happened to other filmmakers, by the way, already. So this is absolutely confusing. First of all, I want to say congratulations on your film. It was part of an excellent block of films, and it was right at the conclusion because we loved it and we wanted the audience to really have that be the final impression of this block. It was a really awesome block. So I want to say congratulations on being shortlisted for an Oscar, and even though the film did not get nominated, which I think is crazy, in the end, what are your biggest takeaways in terms of what you learned while making it?
I learned, like what I took from it was that if you have if you have a strong foundation of talented people and passionate people that understands the story and that believes in the story, that you can that you don't need like all the biggest equipments or the biggest crew, that you can do something, that you can really make an impact or something. So that was something that I got from it. And also working fast also, like there was we were like fighting against light, and we were like traveling throughout Ghana, and traffic is crazy. So
Yeah.
place to another place could take you like 3 hours to drive for like 10 kilometers. So it was like, so preparation was very much key. So we prepared like everything, like per location, the shots together with the DP. So everything was very calculated, so that once we got on the location, we could just like shoot, and then and still like the challenge was like preparing enough, but having the film still be organic, and I think we achieved that, and that's something that I took away from the film a lot. Yeah, I learned so much also from the kids. Amazing.
Absolutely. And I mean, it does come through that it did feel organic. I was actually going to ask you, this is like a very documentary style filmmaking in parts, and then other parts are extremely like smooth, like very smooth. This is deliberate, of course, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't make a film this good without calculating every beat, you know?
Yeah.
So how consciously, especially the car scene, when they're in the car, right? The feeling in that car. Am I correct to put my hood over my head? Is that what you wanted? That's what you wanted me to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was like the challenge for me, and the amazing co-writer Chingis Karibekov, was that we wanted to like write a story that was exciting to watch, but
Yeah.
but nothing really happens until the end, like actually nothing happens, you know what I mean? And but
Yeah.
that's the challenge. Like, it's not a violent film, but yet we wanted like a social drama that, like, as of a point switches into a thriller. um and for us, we found it by staying true to the theme of the film, um, and staying true to the experiences that we had. And we realized that as of the moment we introduce Boga and the car, and that that world, that the adult world, as of the point we introduce that world, we should already feel tension. A grown up will feel some tension, but if kids watch it, they see something completely different. um and so for us, it was like, as of the point that the Boga comes into the story, that's where everything has a double meaning, and with the camera, and how they played. And I was very, it all worked, and it fit. So every time people say they were like sitting on the edge of their seats. That's the biggest compliment, because we wanted to achieve that. Once the car came, once we introduced the car, and so yeah.
I think yeah, there's so much here. Like, you have three characters. I love this concept of three in film. It's everywhere. It's, if you start looking for it, you find it everywhere. The
Yeah.
three character pulls. But in this film, I felt this was Prince's story, and I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But he doesn't say as much as the other characters.
Mhm.
So how do you tell this story from the perspective of a child who speaks less than the other two characters? Because a lot of people assume main character, most dialogue.
Yeah.
But
No, for us, that's also a good one. Like, yeah, I love this. Like, we are breaking down the film. That's great. Like,
that's what we've been doing this all weekend, man. Every film, because the films are good, right? If it's a bad film, you don't need to break it down. You just need to ask the fluffy questions with the bad films. Like, how did you do this? Like, is it tough to get into film? What's another stupid question that I could ask you? I don't know. Is it tough to make a film in Ghana? These are stupid questions. Nobody needs to, because when you have good films like this, you could really dig deep, because there's a lot of nuance, right?
yeah.
And you know that the director knows the answer. That's the other thing.
That's that's a cool one. It's good that you said that, but for us, to be honest with you, all the three characters were main characters for us, in the sense of, like, they all have characteristics that embody who I am at this point of my life. And
Okay.
so somehow, the Boga, like, being a Boga in the sense of, like, that's who I am at this point in my life. When I go to Ghana, they call me Boga, even though
Which means foreigner?
which means foreigner, even though I speak the language, and that's just what it is. I don't live there anymore. And like, I speak Dutch, I speak English, I speak Tree. So, like, I'm moving from place, like, I'm always, like, on the next, and that's what a Bugger is. Like, he, in the film, he speaks all these languages, like, just enough to get by, you know what I mean? And then but then for me, like, the biggest weapon, or I mean, I won't call it a weapon, but, like, the biggest form of communication, or the most worth language that I could get, was film. Because with this film, I can touch the whole world, and that's a metaphor of that camera, because the camera for us is also a character itself. And you had, Prince, who is this closed off kid, but through this journey, kind of, like, explores something new in its life. And so at the end of the journey, he will take something out of it. You have Matilda, who starts very explosive, and at the end, and then you have the Boga, who, so everybody has their,
Arc.
their arc, and everybody at the end of the road trip, or at the end of the trip, everybody goes through something, even though it's small, or it's and so for us, it was like, we wrote the story through the eyes of Prince. Then we went through the story through the eyes of Matilda. Then we went through the story through the eyes of Boga, and then I went through the story through the eyes of
The camera.
me, the kid, as a camera. Exactly. And so for me, that was the one that we thought about it for the most, but then it made sense for me to go back on the journey as a 10-year-old kid. And so that's the camera. And so the camera is always on their on their eye level. And so and that's why we feel the threat much more, because we see it, it's a kid has it's not scared of nothing. It just joins you on this journey, joins you on this adventure. And so, I mean, that's how we kind of, like, portrayed it, you know, for the short film. If it would have been a feature, personally, I think I would have leaned more towards Boga, and given him a little bit more before we meet. Uh, the kid,
Backstory.
yeah, or something like that. And yeah. So, but for the short film, it was important for us to kind of like have these three characters to be as equally important almost, or as equally
Hmm.
like everybody has a different thing that they get out of it. Like we start with Matilda. You know, some people might say Matilda is the main character. Some people say Prince. Some people say Boga. But at the end, I feel like you as a viewer, you go on a journey with these three characters, and you come out you like, oh, okay, like
Hmm.
we got to know these three characters. Yeah.
Well, because I think that they spend so much time together, right? These three characters, that I think who you find to be the main character, it's basically you.
Yeah.
Who do you identify with, right?
What you
So
identify with the
so
most.
for me personally, Prince is the most identifiable character. Cautious, closed off. That's
Yeah.
me. That's me as a kid. That's who I can put myself into. I don't know Matilda because I've never been like that, and I don't know the Boga, right? So what's interesting is two ideas came up to me while you were talking. One was Florida Project.
You know, I still have to see that film.
You're kidding me. You need to watch. You need to watch that film, because that's literally what they do to increase all the tension. They literally frame the camera from the perspective of the child. Everything is very low. And I was actually curious if you'd seen that film and if you'd been inspired by it. And the other thing I would say is the three character thing. It's kind of like No Country for Old Men.
That I've seen.
Yeah, but it's interesting, like in No Country for Old Men, that some people walk out saying, okay, Josh Brolin, that's definitely the main character. It's the first person we meet, whatever. Some people say, well, the narrators, you know, it's Sheriff Tom Bell. And then some people say, well, no, the strongest character has to be the main character. And that's, so I think breaking down that film, and it's not to say that your film reminds me of No Country for Old Men, but
I'll take it, you know, I'll take it.
you want to take that as a press quote?
I'll take
right?
that. I'll take that.
But it's a very similar. I think anyone who has not seen this film, go watch it somehow, get access to it, and break it down, because I think that this is I don't use the word masterpiece lightly. It's like you were very young to have had a masterpiece, but as far as shorts go, like I think.
Tell me, man.
No pressure. But feel free to mess up your next film by all means. But seriously, it's like it's that good, right? And I mean, you make music videos.
Yeah. I also direct music videos.
I've looked you up quite a bit, and I'm kind of curious. How does that influence how you approach narrative?
To be honest with you, like when I was in film school, I just you know, I was also making music, like and I was surrounded by artists.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went to film school, and you had all these cameras laying there and stuff, and but at school itself, we weren't like really doing a lot with the cameras, you know. And I was always like trying stuff out, you know, because I figured making movies will take a long time. Like it's not that, like that's the goal. Like I want to make movies, but like you figured like it would take you a while, you know. And so what I was doing is that we were using stuff to do music videos for friends, you know. And what I would do is like I'll take out like a scene or something, and I'll test out something, like I'll test out a lens, or I'll test out you know, I was just like testing out stuff that I wanted to use, like from my narratives, you know. And yeah, and then you know, I did it a bit, you know. I did some some video clips, and then some commercials, you know, that's like working quick with like a big crew. And that's also a way of learning how to work on set and decoupage and do your storyboards and stuff. But everything that I did, I kind of like did it with the idea of like I'm kind of like schooling myself on the field for the narrative stuff, and I think it all kind of came together in that year. I think if you see my old music videos and some stuff, I think you can recognize
Okay.
kind of like the what the camera does, like because I've been training in it or something. Yeah.
No, I think it's so remarkable how consciously you approach film. Like we get to talk to filmmakers all year. We have like different types of filmmakers. We go into film school sometimes. We talk to filmmakers who are really new, and it's always interesting. I think the check mark for me is how deeply do you think about the smallest details? Because sometimes like, people don't realize that the cut you submit and the cut you don't submit are separated by like 2 frames.
Yeah.
2 frames, and that mattered to you, and that's why you focused on it. But for a lot of people, it's like whatever, just stop, like put it whatever, right? And that whatever type of filmmaking is what that just breaks it apart, right? I was talking with Inan Champigny yesterday. We were talking about an analogy of how like film is like a sailboat, right? And so you have a path, right? You have a character arc, you have a story arc, you have beats that you have to hit along the way, or the audience is going to fall asleep or not care, right? And so you structure the story, and then you sail. But every time you mess up something, like every time the camera doesn't capture what it's supposed to capture, every time the sound design thing becomes distracting, you rip the sail. Yeah, you rip it a little bit. So even though by the end you're still trying to control and say, okay, well, I want the audience to feel this, your boat is no longer even in your control because you've lost the audience along the way. And
that's a good analysis. That's a great analysis.
Yeah, and I feel like in your work, I see somebody who didn't rip the sail. And so one of the toughest parts about this film that we haven't even talked about, since I do believe that it's probably a question that you've been asked 1,000 times, but I'm not going to ask you that question. Other people are going to ask you that question. So here we go. Hi, Anthony. How did you find the right kids for these challenging roles?
All right. It was pretty like, so my cousin knew the headmaster of his primary school, just a regular primary school, and I've had some experience working with non-professional actors, kids also. I've worked with kids a lot, so I was very confident that I'll find enough talented kids. I just had hope first that I would have found somebody from my family, because a lot of my family members are in the film. But unfortunately, they disappointed me. They weren't good enough, so I had to go to the I had to.
That's okay.
It happens sometimes. They weren't good enough, and so we went to this school, and then we did an audition. Like when we do audition, we write down like characteristics. And we spoke with the teacher about the stories and about why we wanted to do it, and the whole school was behind it, and they organized a casting, and the teacher was like reading through the characteristics, and he's like, can anybody come to the audition? And we're like, yeah, of course. And he's like, yeah, because there was this girl and I think she fits this thing. And we're like, yeah, of course, because the names, originally it was written for 2 boys. But when we wrote down the characteristics, we didn't write boy or whatever. We just wrote like charismatic, fast, like witty, to play football, rap, whatever. And we started the audition there, and the first person that came in was Matilda. And she was amazing. And then
she was the first.
She was the first.
Wow.
She came in, and we were like asking her some questions like, do you know how to rap, or can you like if we write you a rap, can you rap? You know what I mean? Like, and she's like, no, I got my own raps. She started rapping and stuff. We're like, what?
That sounds like the character.
Like she was like the character. Like she was, and even like more, because like she like these two kids were so intelligent,
Yeah.
that they really, like, I never gave them the script, and I don't really like to give kids scripts, to read. I like to talk to them about the stories, and the more questions they ask, the more into the story they are, and they asked a lot of the right questions to like, they were really like actors, they were like really professional. Like, it was amazing because like Boga is a professional actor, and he was so impressed, and also how the kids were like learning from him. It was so crazy. But yeah, that's how. And the challenges. I mean, it was, like I said, for me, to be honest, there weren't a lot of challenges, because I kind of, I had done it before and I felt very comfortable. This was also my second film that I was doing in Ghana. Um, at the end they became like diva, like a little bit like diva. Like, they became, because they were like super. Everybody was like, they knew how important they were. So sometimes, and but no challenge. No, they were amazing. Like, they gave me best performances. We didn't do a lot of takes. It was really good. I can't complain. I was very lucky.
Hmm. This is kind of crazy, but this, like, you already answered this question. This question came up. This person knew. How are you able to get such a? You already answered that. You just answered it. So thank you, Carmen, for staying with us. People, yeah, because people were messaging through the film, because that's what they do, right? We're running a weird film festival here, 5 screens here, running tech support, doing like Q&As here. It's crazy. And you're walking people through like how to turn on their computer. Like, how do I turn on my computer? It's like, wow, right? But all the while, people are like messaging you and saying like, hey, I'm watching this film. This is so amazing. Thank you for recommending this. We recommended Dahlia to everybody. We were like, you gotta go watch this film. It's such a cool film.
Thank you so much.
No, it's my pleasure, and very genuinely, like, it's a brilliant film, and yeah, I got nothing more to say to you. Like, it's super cool. It's been really cool to just talk to you. Like, I'm kind of curious, actually. I do have one last question, because you made this film probably pre-pandemic.
Yeah. I shot the film in 2017, actually.
And
okay. The thing is, we financed it ourselves. We just got in just enough money to go and shoot, and then we were gonna figure out what we'll do after.
Yeah.
Because of like financial issues, like, I had to call in favors, and so we were working on it when we had like a little bit of time, and then we finished it. And at last, we finished it in 2019, so I could graduate. and so it was just laying there for a little bit. I was working, trying to get some money, and then until we had enough, and then we went for it. And then in 2019 we edited like straight on and finished it. So it was pre-pandemic, and I was
that's very lucky, right? Because if you submit it, if you just finish it 1 year later, you literally don't have a single live exhibition. So that's like, what was the experience like at your world premiere? I'm assuming you attended, yeah?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to like attend 4 of the festivals, but my film was just it just hit the pandemic, when it came out. The premiere here in Belgium I attended, but the world premiere was in Clermont-Ferrand.
Yeah.
Where I was, and it was amazing. Like, wow.
It's one of my favorite film festivals, and actually, like, there was another film in this block from the same selection, Too Sunny. That was in your. You remember it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. Yeah, because they were just here, and then.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah. So I mean, I love Clermont-Ferrand. How and you? What was the response like from the audience?
it was amazing. Like this was my second time going to Clermont, and the first time I was way too young to like really like let it all come in, and this time it was like I just went and I enjoyed it, and it was, you know how Clermont is like the audience is so into
Yeah.
the whole film, and that, you know, like they'll come to you and ask questions like what happened to them, like what happened to the ball guy, and you know, like really like into the movie and telling you like how much they loved it, and like the response was really good. You know, so we can't we were very grateful, you know, to witness you know, the audience and like the Q&A, and it was really cool. It was really cute. It was cool.
Yeah, I think like a lot of film festivals have spent a lot of time thinking about like, okay, this is so hard for us, you know, like we have to adjust, we have to not do live and whatever. But I think it's been so sad for filmmakers to not be able to, you know, get that audience reaction response, because I've watched every filmmaker who's attended Pendance, almost all of them do the same thing. They step out of their screening, they step into the side, and then they peek in to see what's the audience like.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like literally like when you're a young filmmaker and you never like made a good film, whatever. Yeah, maybe you're just happy to see your film on the big screen. But once you get over that, and that's not really that important anymore. Like it's just really about feeling like you know, because like sometimes you learn something about your own film, right? You're like, oh, I didn't know that was funny. That wasn't supposed to be funny. Why is everyone laughing, right? So I think that's like literally the most important thing for film festivals to be able to do. And it's like, shit, you know, we weren't able to do that. But hopefully this live forum, you know, like we had a whole bunch of questions earlier. I think some people drifted out because they thought we were done. But this has been really cool, man. It's been like getting to know filmmakers and like having, yeah. So it's such a pleasure to meet you.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Sorry that I missed the time.
Oh my God, no. I'm just happy you made it, right? Because we had two filmmakers who were out sick, like, you know, and yeah, so it's like, oh my God, I hope nothing happened to him, and I hope our email didn't go into his junk mail.
No,
yeah, so I messaged you.
It's just like I put on my the timer, and then so then I came on, and then it was like shit. I think it was an hour ago.
Yeah, we tried to add you and then you left. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like loading, so I thought, oh man, shit, I'm late. But then I saw it just came in when it went off again, and then
yeah, yeah. Well, anyways, I'm really happy you got to make it on. I'm happy we had this time to talk to you. We had like a dedicated like 20 minutes just to talk to you. It was super cool, and I'm really excited to see what you do next, man. Like, really, I'll be checking it out at other film festivals, I'm sure, and congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for you know, adding us to the festival, and
of course,
you know, I'm looking forward to seeing the other films and stuff. Like, is there? Are we gonna do another one with everybody? Like, or this was it?
Okay, so what we're gonna do, actually, we got a suggestion in our midnight block, where a filmmaker said, she's like, could you guys arrange a group chat like this, but not recorded?
Yeah.
No recording, just to talk, just to bounce ideas for people who watch each other's films. There's also we did this thing which is like a group doc, which if you message Maria, she'll send you the group document. So it has like every filmmaker who agreed to participate has their email in there. So you can just reach out to people, or they can reach out to you. And so we'll try to do something next week where, you know, just after the festival wraps, where we can just, without me, without any of us, whatever, just let you guys just chat like this, like you would have if this was live, right? So hopefully that'll be relevant, and I'll have Maria send you a link to that. Okay,
no, perfect. That would be awesome.
That's super cool. All right, man. Take care.
Thank
have
you.
a good one.
Thank you
and
so much.
I love your cat in the back.
Oh, look, that's Missy Elliott.
Oh, that's a perfect name. Perfect name. All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Good job.
All right.